And welcome back to a Standard Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jono, and as always, my co-host, Chris, is here. We are moving into the end of Week 3. I say that because as we're filming, the Monday night games are both rolling. We got one at halftime and one in the end of the first quarter. So we're going to roll through our waiver pickups of the week. Before we do so, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that notification button so you get all of the updates as we drop them. Again, we are doing our Tuesday morning waiver releases, our Thursday morning, Thursday night football breakdown and preview, and then we have our Saturday morning weekend full slate preview with all the starts and sits for each matchup. So for today, before we jump into these Week 3 waivers, like I said, we are still in the middle of the Monday night games. If there are any injuries or anything big that pops up from these Monday night games, take a look in the comments below and the description. We will put any updates to anybody if they feel like we should include them on the list, but they're not on here because the games are rolling.
I just want to say that I'm pretty sure, like, this is just the superstitious Jet fan in me, is I said that last Monday night right before filming. And then Aaron Rodgers got hurt.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that. I mean, well, I will say there is one person that we're waiting to see how he does. That's Calvin Austin. Because if you know, news of the day today, Deontay Johnson was put on IR, so he's out for 4 weeks. So Calvin Austin, if he does perform today and he's targeted heavily, him and Allen Robinson could be a flex play for you in deeper leagues and injuries.
Yeah, Jamal Williams was hurt. This is at halftime right now in the Saints game. So Jamal Williams was hurt with a hamstring in the first half. We'll see an update as that moves on. But for all the Barkley owners, Tony Jones might be the only guy there next week. So
hopefully Kendra Miller's back and healthy. So he's another one to keep an eye out for. If he gets off the injury bug there and he's ready to go in full practice this week, he's somebody that is a sneaky play next week. We're not going to include him on the waivers here because he has been injured and we just don't know. And don't forget, Alvin Kamara will be back here week 4. So let's roll into it. We'll go with our first one here. And this guy has probably been the biggest, I wouldn't call surprise, because every time these numbers been called upon and Jared Goff is thrown his way, he has done it in the past 2 seasons. That's Josh Reynolds. But he's on to a tear at the beginning of the season. And obviously with everybody targeting on the defense to Amon-Ra St. Brown, he is finding himself some more deeper routes. And he's finding himself more open in the end zone because the dude's got 9 receptions for 146 yards, 2 touchdowns in the first 2 weeks. His yards per catch are 16.2 for a 9-catch average is pretty good. So you can see his downfield targeting is where Goff is finding him, and that's what they need. And I know a lot of people are going to be nervous about Jameson Williams coming back after the 6-game suspension, but this guy is earning himself touches week after week. And I don't know if Jameson's going to be gelling fast enough with that offense by the time he comes in game 7. And Reynolds has already got, triple these catches here, and he's already well around 500 yards and multiple touchdowns. I think they're going to continue to use him, and I think he'll be a clear-cut wide receiver 2 still for the Lions at that point.
Yeah, no, I really like Josh Reynolds. I think he's been a surprise. We thought that Marvin Jones was going to kind of step up into that.
He had the chance. Role. He had that chance.
He had the chance, but Reynolds has been the guy. And I like the fact that in both games, like, he really broke out in this past game against the Seahawks with the 2 scores. But in both games, he's been highly utilized. While in the first game, he had 80 yards on 4 receptions, and now stepping up and getting the touchdowns and getting in the end zone. When teams started to target Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield and Laporta short and Amon-Ra short, the deep guy that's going to be open is Reynolds. And Khalif Raymond had a big game or had a decent game too. But I like those 2 deep threats. Reynolds is definitely my favorite of the 2 guys there.
Yeah, Reynolds has a size. Another line we didn't include on here is going to be your backup running backs there. Because obviously Dave Montgomery's day-to-day with a thigh. I didn't think it was worth mentioning those running backs because you have Jahmyr Gibbs there who's going to garner a larger role moving forward. And on top of that, Montgomery's not out for a great extended period of time. He could even be back this week because they consider him day-to-day. Doubtful, but still.
Yeah, I think he's going to miss this week, but he's probably only going to miss 1, maybe 2 games. It's not a long extended injury, but Jahmyr Gibbs should take the lion's share of the backfield.
Rawr. Rawr. Let's move on to our second one here. Here's a funky one. It's a guy whose name pops up every single year, no matter what team he's on. He has these flashes in the pan, and you want to catch it while the iron's hot, and that is Nelson Agholor. He is 0% owned. Oh, by the way, Josh Reynolds is 21% owned in sleeper leagues right now, so he's probably available in your league, and if he's not, your league mates are competitors. If he is available, he's a guy you do want to jump on and stash on your lineup. Even if you have the depth at wide receiver, because he could be somebody you pull in your flex play right away. But Nelson Agholor, he popped up on our radars as of recent. He was 5 for 6 for 63 yards and a touchdown. He's got a 12.6 yards per reception here. He's 0% owned. Like, you can probably still go grab him for free, unless your league mates are listening to us as well, which would be great if you did spread the word, but I understand if you didn't. And 0% owned, you can get him for nothing, and he's a stash play too, because if it becomes a trend here for Agholor again, he's a sure-handed guy who just could never stay healthy wherever he was, or quarterbacks couldn't stay healthy around him. It was a tough scenario because no matter where he's been successful.
I mean, he struggled with catches in the past when he was younger. He looked good in yesterday's game. If this offense is going to go anywhere, if we think Lamar is going to kind of take a step as a passer, he's going to need pass catchers out there. And if OBJ looked good in the first half of the game. He went down with an injury.
They say it's not serious.
It's not serious, but Agholor stepped in. I mean, he caught everything. I think he was 5 for 6 in this game.
Yeah.
It was great to see that from him. It was less great to see like Bateman, who I thought really was going to be a big guy this year. But Zay Flowers is the guy to own there for sure.
Yeah, he's a number one there. But I agree. The Bateman kind of fizzling out from an opportunity here, with an injury-riddled beginning of his career to now looking like he's the number 3 on the depth chart. And when Nelson Agholor comes off the bench and garners 5 receptions on 6 targets and 63 yards on a touchdown, and Bateman's not the one getting that, it just makes me want to stray far away from that and take the number 2 outside of that. And if they're going to, like Chris said, if they're going to pass this ball more, you want a piece of the receiving game. And obviously Mark Andrews is already owned and Zay Flowers is already owned. So your next best guy is going to be OBJ or Nelson Agholor. And so you might as well try and grab one and ride the wave, because this team is going to be pretty good on the offense side. Yeah. Here's another one, is a LA Ram that has kind of stepped up, and his name is not Puka Nacua, like we said last week, but it is Tutu Atwell. And Tutu Atwell,
another guy, when you look at the numbers, you're kind of like, he has that many targets, he has that many receptions. Yeah, he does. I know Puka's the guy that everyone's talking about, but Tutu's a guy that coming into camp, the Rams were high on. And we've seen the production. The only reason we're not talking about Tutu as much is because Puka has played the way he has. By the way, let me just say this. If Puka is still available in your league, he's number 1 priority. All right.
Spend the money. Spend the money for him. It's worth it.
He is going to, even if Cooper Kupp comes back, he is a guy that's going to be relevant the entire season. If you watch the game film and you watch how he runs routes like Cooper Kupp does. He finds open space. He wins against one-on-one coverage. He's good against zone. He's good against man. And he seems to have a really good rapport with Stafford, who loves those types of receivers that know what to do, that are smart receivers. And Puka is going to be relevant even if Cooper Kupp comes back healthy.
Yeah, I think Tutu Atwell as well, too, because that team's going to have to pass the ball.
Well, this is what I was just going to say is I think the Rams are a team that everyone is sleeping on. Every single person. This offense is very good. This offense can throw the ball. Like Kyren Williams has stepped up into a really, really nice role. Another guy that if he is still available in your league, you should be going and picking him up. He is the RB1 there. And so if he's not owned, you should go and get him as a priority. Puka, Kyren. Those are your top 2 if they're available. If not, we're talking about guys on this list that are under 50% owned.
Under 40% owned, really, is what that's our threshold, is under 40% owned, because we're looking for those guys that nobody's touching. The people who are under 40% owned, usually the next week they're over 40% owned.
Correct.
So, and that's who we're talking about. Kyren Williams. We're talking about Puka Nacua. These guys were under 40 last week when we talked about them. Now they're well over 40. So Tutu Atwell was 13 for 17 so far in the first 2 games with 196 yards, 0 touchdowns. Not that he hasn't been targeted in the end zone yet, because he has, but 15 yards per catch. This guy has also been wide open multiple times on crossing routes, multiple times on out routes, and he's been able to do things with that to catch. Don't forget, this is the guy last year that they used out the backfield on running plays. They've done it with Puka a couple times here. Puka's good, but Tutu is more built for that type of operation. Now with Cam Akers possibly being on the trading block, don't be surprised if someone like Tutu starts getting a couple rushes per game too on top of that, like you used to see for like Isaiah McKenzie and Mecole Hardman with the Chiefs. So this guy is kind of is a nice gadget player, but he's really good hands, and he's shown that he has got the trust of Matt Stafford.
Yeah, let me ask you this while we're talking about the Rams. Would you agree with me that Van Jefferson at this point is a drop?
I'd say I'd rather own these 2 guys than Van Jefferson. Yes, he's a drop because as soon as Cooper Kupp comes back, and we're all hoping he does because he's a great player to watch, Van Jefferson drops into a rotating role with one of these other 2 guys, and he's probably seeing way less snaps as they are because these guys are making the plays. 200 yards here for Tutu. It's over 200 yards for Puka Nacua. These guys are the offense right now for Matt Stafford, period. And I think they're going to go 3 wide. I think you're going to see a lot more 3 wide once Cooper Kupp comes back, just because at the end of the day, you have Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams isn't the Todd Gurley the Rams used to have. Kyren Williams isn't one of these juggernaut running backs that's going to garner 25 rushes a game. And if he does, it's because they're ahead and they're running the clock down. To me, he's going to be a running back that's going to catch passes out the backfield. He's going to run the ball well here. But to me, you're going to see the air game with Matt Stafford. They're going to use Matt Stafford to their advantage.
Hey, if you guys have been keeping up with our episodes, I wonder if you guys catch on this as much as I do, that Jono can't go 1 episode without making a reference and comparing someone to either a Giant player or a Georgia player. Not one single episode.
No, I don't think you're
a little drinking game for watching our episode.
Hey, no, I bring up 100%. I bring up Todd Gurley because he was under the McVay era and he was run like a horse, and he was the Rams. It's a valid person to bring up. It's the last juggernaut running back that. Okay. Let's move on. Let's move on. That is a good drinking game. Let's talk about DaVante Parker, a guy that to me I've been off on the past couple seasons. His stats in terms of his winning percentage against man coverage and his average separation are some of the worst numbers you'll ever read. However, he looked pretty good last night. I mean, he was 6 for 8 for 57 yards in his first game back because he was not active week 1. He's only 7% owned in leagues. Mac Jones was able to get the ball to him, and it didn't even need to. Mac Jones threw him open. It actually looked pretty good for Mac Jones, to be honest with you. I like him because he could end up being the pseudo number 1 option there. Kendrick Bourne was thrown to a bunch yesterday too, but not as much as DaVante Parker, and Kendrick Bourne was struggling to come down with the balls on some contested catches and jump balls. Parker was catching about everything coming his way. So I don't know what your thoughts are about him. He's not like a big flashy player. He's not exciting to watch, but 6 for 8 for 57. If he falls in the end zone, that guy's a great flex play.
Yeah, I mean, I've owned him in the past, and I thought he was a good flex play in certain matchups. I do think that, there's always narrative, right? And we had 2 revenge games, set up for this game. It was DaVante Parker being a longtime Dolphin and Mike Gesicki being a longtime Dolphin. Parker looked. Listen, he wasn't getting open, but Parker looked good catching the ball. He looked strong on the ball, and as a number 2, which honestly, like, I would say Hunter Henry's the number 2, Kendrick Bourne's the number 1, but they need other pass catchers there. And DaVante Parker is the veteran there, and everyone else is just super young and inexperienced. So do I like him enough to where I'm going to stash him? I probably would go after like 2 more than DaVante Parker, even taking a flyer on Nelson Agholor more. But if I lose out on both of them and I need some depth, I think that he's a guy that I would go and target.
Well, here's the thing I like
that offense a lot better than I like some of the other guys. Like I would say, like Rondell Moore is another good stash, but I like the offense much better in New England than I do in Arizona.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing about these Patriots receivers, you said it. You said Kendrick Bourne's the number one, but to me, it's tough to even tell who the number one receiver is. And I don't know if it's going to be like for the next couple of weeks, we're really going to know either. Because if you look at it, Kendrick Bourne had 9 targets, only caught 4 balls. DaVante Parker had 8 for 6 catches. Juju Smith-Schuster had 6, and then they brought in Douglas this week, and they had a healthy, well, it wasn't really a healthy scratch because Kayshon Boutte was dealing with a little bit of an injury, but they ended up making him inactive. He's another one to keep an eye out for. I think they're going to search for, they're searching for a playmaker there. That's what it is. If you're leaning on Juju and DaVante Parker, you're not doing it to win football games. Like, Bourne's the more electric out of the 3 of those guys, and he's not necessarily getting the job done for them in a tough game like that where they had a chance to win. You got a guy you throw to 9 times, catches 4 balls for 29 yards. That's not going to do it. They want some guy that can do it. Douglas had a great catch over the middle, ran for about 20 yards, and then coughed it up real fast.
Real fast.
Yeah, real fast. So keep an eye on those. We like Parker because right now he seems like he's going to be the most steady Eddie for them, and he could probably garner himself 6 to 8 targets a game pretty easily, unless it's a big time running game for Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah.
Let's move on to a guy that is garnering plenty of targets himself for his team, and that is the rookie Tank Dell being thrown to by the rookie CJ Stroud. He's 21% owned, so people are starting to get on it. People were hyping him from the preseason anyway, so that could just be a residual from preseason. But he was 10 for 14 in the first 2 games so far, 106 yards and a touchdown. He really broke out last game. It was exciting to watch. He was a spark plug for that offense a little bit that's been kind of sluggish and not really having chunk yardage. So keep an eye on him. Him and Nico Collins are 2. Nico is an honorable mention for us, as we'll tell you at the end, but he's over 50% owned. So we wanted to lean on Tank Dell here. You're going to want a piece of this passing offense because they're going to be playing from behind probably all season.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as last year, right? Like, there's a reason we liked the receivers there last year is because they were throwing, as bad as everyone thinks as the Texans offense was last year, they were top, I think, 3 or 4 in pass plays because they were behind in every game. And I think that this offense is going to get better as the season goes on. We'll see steps from CJ Stroud, but clearly through the first 2 games, his favorite target is Nico Collins, and his second favorite target is Tank Dell.
Yep.
And Tank Dell, I've been on since he was drafted to this team. I've been on as a rookie breakout guy. He is going to start breaking out more and more because they want to get him touches because he makes plays.
Robert Woods looked pretty good yesterday too.
Yeah, Woods doesn't look bad either. Again,
he had a touchdown called back, a wide open wheel route called back.
This is a team that's going to get better and better as the season goes on, and they're looking pretty inefficient running the ball. So you're gonna want the pass catchers there too. So Tank Dell is a guy I absolutely would go and own. 21% owned. So go ahead and stash him in some of your leagues. I would take him. So in terms of this list here, he would be my number 2 wide receiver that I would take behind Tutu Atwell.
I took Josh Reynolds number 1.
I'd probably take Josh Reynolds 3. I'd take Tutu first, Tank Dell second, and then Josh Reynolds third. Because as soon as Josh Reynolds is he's going to be a temporary play before another mouth gets added into that offense. Whereas I think Tutu and Tank Dell, Tank Dell especially, has the ability to sustain this the entire season.
Yeah. And we could talk about where we have our top. I'll give my top 3, receivers, and then other running backs here. I'll just give my top 3 overall at the end here. So let's keep moving on. We got another rookie here on our list. This is mostly because I pushed it pretty hard as a Giants fan.
Oh no, dude!
What? Breaking news?
Nick Chubb carted off the field.
No. Oh.
So
Nick Chubb.
Jerome
my
Ford,
God.
Pierre Strong. Add those guys to our waiver list right now.
Go get Kareem Hunt. Get that's somebody to just grab and stash because he knows the offense and he knows he can be successful there. But if it's anything serious, that's a good rushing offense that you want a piece of, even more than the Giants after the 3-week absence. So if we see anything different or hear more from it, we'll let you know. But we'll put a short out too as well tomorrow so that you could see. Anyway, on to Jaylin Hyatt here for the New York Giants. He's only had 3 targets in 2 games, but let's not even talk about that first game. It's like the offense wasn't even on the field. So that being said, Jaylin Hyatt yesterday 2 of 3 for 89 yards. He had a 29.6 yards per target. We know this guy. He's built for speed. He's built for distance. He's going the distance, I should say. Built for speed. And then the thing is, Daniel Jones, if he hit him in stride on that first pass yesterday, he was gone because he had that guy by 2.5, 3 steps. I think this is the key for the Giants offense. I don't want to watch it.
His season's done.
All right, watch our short. We'll put a link to it at the end. Watch our short. I will say the biggest thing for Jaylin Hyatt is he is all about chunk yardage, big plays. We have another guy on this list too as well that's the same way. If you're looking to stash a guy that I think is going to get continuously involved in this offense because he was able to help unlock this offense a little bit more by spreading the defense. He had a lot more snap percentage this past game, and I think he's going to be your key to doing that. And if you get a guy who catch the ball 2 or 3 times in a game and hit 100 yards and a touchdown, there's not many people in the league that are like that. Think of Deshaun Jackson. Like, this is what I think of. A guy like Deshaun Jackson who comes in, catches 3 or 4 balls. You had him in your flex play, and all of a sudden he's got 120 and a touchdown. Now, it's a risky play. I'm not saying go out and do it, but if a lot of these guys are owned in your leagues and you're looking to stash a guy, go ahead and stash Jaylin Hyatt because he is somebody that on your bench could end up being second half of the season a league winner if he's starting to get 5 targets, 6 targets a game. Now it's a whole different situation. And who knows the next 3 games without Saquon Barkley, what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
Jayden Reed is the next guy. He's another rookie here. He had a fantastic game for the Green Bay Packers yesterday. He's been 6 for 13 for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. Both touchdowns coming yesterday in the game. 2 short little out routes that he got open immediately. And Love has had a rapport with him and Dobbs and Musgrave pretty heavily. And don't forget, Christian Watson is going to come back at some point. It may not be this week. It could be the week after that. But I think Reed and Dobbs are 2 guys you want to still own because this team has shown they could pass the ball really well. And even the first game when they were running the ball well, he still had 3 passing touchdowns. One of them did go to Aaron Jones, but he still had 3 touchdowns. He's getting the ball in the end zone through the air, and you like to see that for pass catchers.
Yeah, and the thing I like actually about Jayden Reed is the fact that they're scheming him into the game. It's the same reason why I like Brandon, Zay Flowers a lot, is they scheme him the ball. So whether that being, jet sweeps, whether that being lining him up in the backfield and running him out of the motion of the backfield to get him into open space and on the move. It's just constant. Their plays designed to get him the ball, which means that the coaches like him there. So I like Jayden Reed a lot. Now, we don't know what this offense is going to look like when Christian Watson gets back. There's going to be a lot of mouths to feed there between Watson and Dobbs and Musgrave. Well, I'll say this, is Jordan Love looks good through the first 2 games of the season.
Yeah, so I think Jordan Love has been fantastic. I mean, he's shown already. Sorry, I was taking a look to see if I could see the Nick Chubb thing. I'm just going to wait till after this because I want to hold down my late night tea here. I don't want to be going all over the mic. The thing about Jordan Love is,
he like.
I don't know if you remember. I've been obviously being a Georgia fan since I started dating my wife. When Nick Chubb hyperextended his knee on the sideline for Georgia his senior year, I think it was, or maybe it was his freshman year. It was bad. It was really that was Nick Chubb going by. It was really bad hyperextension of his knee going out of bounds. I thought his career was over back then. So prayers up for Nick Chubb. Yeah, to finish the note, Jordan Love has been amazing. He's been doing amazing things with the ball. The fact that he's got not quite the yardage that Aaron Rodgers had in his first 2 games as a Packer, but he has more touchdowns than Aaron Rodgers had as a Packer. It just goes to show that he was having his notebook out there. He was a student of the game for the seasons he played behind Aaron Rodgers, and I'm sure Aaron Rodgers is proud of the fact that some guy could be a mentor like that, as much hands off or hands on as he was. Love took notes, and he's playing good football right now.
Yeah.
All right, we got 3 more here, and we're going to hit with a tight end here, and that's Zach Ertz. If you had any chance to watch that Cardinals-Giants game yesterday, Zach Ertz was open and open often. He was 12 for 18 in the first 2 games so far with 77 yards, no touchdowns, not big flashy numbers, but that's not what you expect from a Cardinals player. But if you're streaming tight ends, don't you want to grab a guy who's had 18 targets in 2 games? Like, not many tight ends you're going to find off the waiver wire are going to give you those numbers. All he needs to do is get one in the end zone here and there. And we know how little tight ends score touchdowns outside the top 5 guys. He's going to be more targeted. He's more targeted right now, I think, if I look at the numbers, than Kyle Pitts. He has more receptions probably than Kyle Pitts and yardage than Kyle Pitts.
Njoku.
And Njoku.
There's a lot of guys. Goddard.
Yeah.
He's getting, like, he's a tight end 1 at this point. He's gained the volume to be a tight end 1, to be a top 12, and that's what you're looking for from the tight end position when you're streaming is volume. Are they getting the opportunities to catch the ball? And Ertz is, and he's getting open. I like Ertz a lot. I went last week and got Henry, and another guy that I've talked about for since we were doing our pre-draft stuff is that if you should get, he's such a good secondary option to have on your team. He's gonna just slowly but surely chug his way to like a tight end 10 finish.
If you're a Kyle Pitts owner, you should go grab Zach Ertz right now.
Yeah,
because you should definitely do that. I mean, here he's tight end 15 in standard, but he's tight end 6 in PPR right now. Yeah. Just pure volume. So that's our recommendation. He's my number 1 tight end here. If Musgrave is still out there, he's another secondary 1-2 to stash. Again, like, I don't like what's going on in Atlanta. I'd rather have one of these other 2 guys and give myself an opportunity to score points. I have Ertz over Musgrave because he's the number 2 option there, in my opinion, with the Cardinals. Yeah. The last 2 guys we have Marvin Mims, wide receiver, 21% owned here. He's 2 games has gone 4 for 4 for 122 and a touchdown. Another guy who has big chunk yard plays. He's fast. He's electric. I just didn't even like watching Jerry Jeudy play again. Like, I just don't think that guy's got what it takes. And I think Marvin Mims is going to find himself more and more on this field by mid-season, and now's the time to get him. Yep. You're talking about this team offense that had to pass the ball a ton yesterday, struggled offensively. I don't think they're ever going to not struggle.
33 points.
Yeah, but I don't. But I mean, running the ball, they ran the ball 12 times with Javonte Williams and 1 time with Samaje Perine. Everything was through the air yesterday, and it worked for them.
Yeah.
So
and to see nothing go to Jeudy.
Yeah. Like
almost nothing go to Jeudy.
We know Jeudy can get open, and he's a good route runner, and then we always put him in this pedestal as a route runner, but he hasn't been Devonta Smith. He hasn't been Keenan Allen out there. He hasn't been these guys that are already pedigree route runners. We're just saying he's a good route runner because he's always open. He gets open, but he drops balls. He either that or Russell Wilson couldn't get him the ball last year or this year. So I like Marvin Mims. Again, he's not a person you're going to throw in your lineup right away. But if you're in a bye week or if you got some injuries out there, it's a guy that you can at least know you have a shot for him scoring points for you in your flex instead of grabbing somebody else that's going to get like 3 or 4 targets and not have a chance to hit the end zone or big yardage. Like, that's what you're getting from Mims and Hyatt, is you get an opportunity for high yield and yardage and a possible touchdown.
Yeah.
Last one I have here is Rico Dowdle. You and I have been talking about him. We talked about Deuce Vaughn and Dowdle both in parallels, and the fact that we weren't really sure where they were going to go as the number 2 option there. And Dowdle seemed to kind of take this role. He's had 13 rushes for 50 yards and 1 reception for 17 so far in the first 2 games. He's had some good goal line and red zone opportunities as well for them. And obviously Deuce Vaughn is getting in there. He's catching some more passes or getting him with the ball in open space because he's tricky and all that. But I think they like the big body Dowdle between the tackles and giving him more opportunities during rest time for Tony Pollard. So this to me is the guy to stash. I think he's going to get the first shot. And, they also, if you haven't seen, they did end up releasing Ronald Jones, so he's no longer on the roster. So Dowdle, in my opinion, is going to be the next man up. If anything were to happen to Tony Pollard, knock on wood, we don't want that to happen. But if anything did happen, he's the guy that I would go grab. And then he'd probably be in tandem with Deuce Vaughn in more of a 50-50 split, 60-40 split.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that he's not going to be this week's bye week replacement for you, but he the way this Dallas offense is running, they're going to be up in games, and they're not going to start running the ball with Pollard just to wind the clock down. They're going to use other guys in there, and if Dowdle's in there, he's been productive with the touches that he's gotten, and he's a bigger body, so it's a nice compliment to Tony Pollard. So I do like him. I like Deuce Vaughn too. I just don't like the usage that they've had through the first 2 games when they've been up 40-0 and then 30-10 on the Jets, just smacking the New York teams around. That's fine. We're both disappointed by it, but that's fine.
You don't have to play him a second time though.
Yeah, and at least we scored points on them. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I didn't like the usage that with that Deuce Vaughn got compared to Dowdle, which is why I think we're talking about Dowdle here and not Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah.
So I like him as a stash, especially at the running back position, which is mightily thin right now, and then with Chubb going down tonight, going to be thinner.
Yeah, I agree.
And I saw the video already. Like he's out for the season. Like it's not good. So add to this list Jerome Ford, Pierre Strong. Those are guys they traded for Pierre Strong. Pierre Strong did look good last year with the Patriots, and they did bring him over. So I do like those 2 guys. Go and pick up one of them if you're a Nick Chubb owner, because at least you're going to get a part of that running game, which is the entire running game is up for grabs right now.
Yeah, and like I said too, if you've got an opportunity to have a couple bench stash plays because you have deep bench numbers in your league or something, go grab Kareem Hunt. I'm not saying that there's going to be any talk for him going to the Browns or anything like that, but there's already a late. Yeah, Cam Akers is probably already owned by somebody, at the end of the day. But Kareem Hunt, if they want to get somebody on the team quick, but yeah, he could go to the Browns.
I was ragging around the internet through a lot of fantasy groups, and there's been a lot of people in their leagues that have dropped Cam Akers. That is a dumb idea.
Don't do that.
You are a Cam Akers owner. Do not drop Cam Akers. All right, stash it. Hold on to him. Find someone. If you can't roster him, find someone that'll trade. Package him with someone, but do not drop him because someone's going to get him for free, and he's going to go somewhere. And there are teams now that are needy at running back. And he's going to go somewhere and play.
Yep. Well, let me just give you a couple honorable mentions before I give you my top 3 off this list. We got Nico Collins and Zach Moss, both over 50% owned. Zach Moss does have a little bit of a shelf life with Jonathan Taylor coming back. But that being said, he's still looked good, much better than the running backs that were there. And with Anthony Richardson, who could still be out this week with concussion protocol, he's somebody that could be an RB2 for you in your lineups. Nico Collins, to me, is a wide receiver 2 already. This guy is garnering, and it could be a flex play for some people, depending upon how heavily you went on wide receiver. He's fantastic. He's a must-play week to week. He is the number 1 option.
He should be in your starting lineup every week.
Yeah. And then Hunter Henry, again, another tight end that you can plug and play into your lineup and feel comfortable that he's going to get targets, and he's going to be looked in the red zone by Mac Jones. He's already done it 2 games in a row. Keep it up, Hunter Henry. So if he's 48% owned, so if he's available in your league, go grab him. Like I said, Kyle Pitts owner, go grab Hunter Henry. Kyle Pitts owner, go grab Zach Ertz. Like, stop wishing and hoping on that dream.
Trade Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. My top 3 here, I would go Josh Reynolds, number 1. I would go Tutu Atwell, number 2, and Tank Dell, number 3. If I was in need of a tight end, obviously I would put Zach Ertz in there, number 3. But I would probably just swap Zach Ertz out with somebody who's not performing for me and still try and get Tank Dell because Tank Dell is going to be worth it. I only say Josh Reynolds number 1 because I still think even when Jameson Williams comes back, I think he's going to be the number 2, like I said. Tutu Atwell is still, I have him at number 2. I think he's still going to be a force there. I could probably bump Tank Dell to number 2 just because of the whole Cooper Kupp thing, because Tank Dell has kind of solidified himself as the number 2.
Right.
Or will eventually solidify him.
Well, Puka Nacua has solidified himself as the eventual number 2 when Cooper Kupp comes back.
Correct.
And then
That's what I mean.
Tutu's still going to be used in this offense. So that's why I like Tutu and Tank Dell as season-long guys. I do like Josh Reynolds, but he's more of a bye week. He's more of a replacement if I'm a Davante Adams owner. If I'm short on wide receiver because I didn't stack heavy there, like I'm going to go and get Josh Reynolds to try to win some weeks early on in the season, or if I drafted Cooper Kupp and didn't have two other guys, right? Or if I'm, maybe a Jamar Chase owner and you're feeling a little less confident with that offense.
We don't blame you.
Yeah. Crazy.
We don't blame you.
He was in a lot of leagues, the number one wide receiver off the board.
Not in this conversation. If you watched all our old stuff, go back and look. We didn't even have him up there. We even said too that we liked Tyreek better than him. So, well, thanks for tuning in, guys. That's our week 3 waiver wire pickups. Again, if anything changes, like we just changed on the fly for us here. If anything continues to change or any news comes, look out for shorts as well as in the description. We'll be happy to put some stuff down there. Again, hit the notification button so you do see those shorts when they come out, because every time we drop them, we're going to try and give you the latest and greatest advice so that you could be the top league winner in all your leagues. If you're in multiple, or if you're in this one special league, we're there to get you the cup, the championship that you see over Chris's left shoulder there.
It's going to be retained for a third year in a row.
Please no. So thanks for tuning in. Don't forget about our Thursday episode that we'll be dropping for our Thursday Night Football preview, where we will talk about our starts and sits there. See you next time.